Thank you. All rise. Almighty God, we, the representatives of the citizens of the City of Brisbane, are assembled here to strive and care for the welfare of our city and all its people. Lord, we ask that you guide us in the decisions we make here today. Amen. We acknowledge this country and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as traditional custodians, their language, songs and dance. We pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. May we continue to peacefully walk together in respect and in caring for this country and one another. Please be seated. I declare the meeting open. Are there any apologies?
Mr Chair, I advise that Councillor Marks will be absent today and I move that she be granted a leave of absence from the meeting.
Seconded.
Thank you. It has been moved by Councillor Landers and seconded by Councillor Hutton that Councillor Marks be granted leave of absence from today's meeting. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Before proceeding with my budget presentation, I'd like to point out that a copy of each budget submission for the 2022-2023 financial year has been placed on in front of each councillor on their desk, and a full set of documents have been tabled. Well, Mr Chair, I rise to present to this council and to the 1.2 million residents of this incredible city the 2022-2023 budget. At the heart of this budget is a defining principle that we must, first and foremost, rebuild and recover. That we must rebuild and recover our economy to help the local businesses that have struggled through a 2-year global pandemic. We must rebuild and recover our communities, our parks, our playgrounds and our sporting clubs after they were hammered in the February floods. We must rebuild and recover suburb by suburb, street by street, to ensure that Brisbane bounces back better, to ensure that Brisbane keeps getting better. Our rebuilding and recovery agenda means the $4 billion budget that I am presenting today is once again unashamedly focused on Brisbane's suburbs. Years of responsible financial management, now the envy of all other levels of government, mean that we're not only able to prioritise rebuilding and recovery, but we're also able to maintain our focus on the future. Despite unprecedented challenges, we've been able to do all of these things while maintaining a balanced budget. We'll continue to deliver critical projects like Brisbane Metro. We know this fully electric mass transit solution, which is now supported by both the state and federal governments, will revolutionise commuting for residents and visitors. We'll continue delivering critical new links like the Kangaroo Point and Breakfast Creek Green Bridges, because they will radically transform the way that people move around our city and its connectivity. Just over 2 years ago, the people of Brisbane chose our team to take the city forward. They chose a team with the experience to run Australia's largest council in difficult and challenging times. They chose a team that has successfully guided our city through the financial challenges of natural disasters in the past, and a team that stood ready with sleeves rolled up for what was ahead. This budget delivers on our promise of strong and responsible stewardship of this incredible city. We've been upfront with residents that we've had to pause and cancel a number of projects. We've trimmed our sails in some areas, but we've done this to ensure that we can prioritise the rebuilding and recovery of our city. Years of strong financial management mean we can do that while still delivering the projects that Brisbane needs for the future. And we can do this without resorting to an irresponsible approach that in the end would just delay hard decisions for another day and comes at a far greater cost for residents in the long term. We say no to that approach. Mr Chair, the final week in February this year will be remembered as a seminal moment in our city's history. It will be remembered in Brisbane's history books for the way that the heavens opened and the rain fell in unprecedented volumes. The rain that fell on already sodden catchments on Sunday, February 27th, was up to 4 times what was forecast. Never before had Brisbane recorded 2 consecutive days of more than 200 millimetres of rain each day. And what struck us throughout that fateful final week in February was a record of more than 200 millimetres of rain each day over 3 consecutive days, with some parts of Brisbane receiving almost 750 millimetres of rain, much more than what was forecast. Brisbane received more rain in just a few days than the City of London receives in a year. The flood that ensued did not discriminate. While the 2011 flood peak was much higher, the flood occurred on a sunny day with plenty of warning. What we experienced this time around was a sudden and unprecedented combination of river, creek and overland flow flooding. Some of our creeks experience 1 in 2,000 year flood volumes. Let me say that again, 1 in 2,000 year flood volumes. More than 23,000 properties across 177 of Brisbane's 190 mainland suburbs were impacted. Homes and businesses were inundated. Livelihoods and precious, irreplaceable belongings were ruined. Lives were lost. In the flood that devastated not just Brisbane, but our entire region, 13 people died. This included 62-year-old Meryl Dray, who joined the SES following the death of her son and died while en route to a rescue to family caught in floodwaters. At her funeral in Holland Park in March, Meryl was rightly given a Guard of Honour by the Orange Angels, the SES, and is rightly and will be rightly remembered as a hero. As the waters subsided, many heroes emerged. Whether it was helping out mates or people they'd never met, Brisbane residents just stepped in to do their bit. It was like a muscle memory from disasters past. Lending a hand was the most natural thing to do, and that's what they did. And as I travelled the length and breadth of Brisbane, the stories of people just doing what they could to help each other were inspiring. People like Sarah Bowers from Spring Hill, who was helping to clean up her rented Windsor property while her tenant's daughter was undergoing brain surgery. Or Cowboy Clint, who turned up to clean up in Carina with a digger and a truck, and I met Cowboy Clint, helping people that he had never met. And Nick Dubravnik from St Laurie's, who took it upon himself to hand out food and drink to members of the Mud Army. And there was that wonderful couple I met from the Brisbane Coffee Run, who'd set up their van and were offering free coffees outside a Jindalee church that had begun to operate as a drop-in centre. Just like our residents, our council work crews sprung into action. Working alongside members of our Defence Forces, we undertook Brisbane's biggest ever clean-up. More than 75,000 tonnes of flood-damaged goods were removed during our special edition of the curbside collection. More than 3,000 streets were swept for goods, many of them 2, 3 or 4 times to ensure that everything was taken. Almost 29,000 free trips were undertaken to our resource recovery centres, which were also open for longer hours. More than 15,000 property owners have now been approved for our $250 rates rebate. And it was a rebate that was more than twice what was offered in 2011 following that flood. It would have helped many of the people that I met, such as Brett Ambrose from Ashgrove, whose house went under. More than 270 clubs have received our $5,000 clean-up cash payment. We made sure this money went out the door quickly so that people like Annie from the Barden Bowls Club could help organise the clean-up without having to worry about the immediate cost. We undertook a range of other measures that also benefited residents during the disaster, including extending our citywide pause on street parking meter payments. The cost of all of these measures so far is around $7 million. And all of this money has gone directly towards helping Brisbane people who have been forced to endure yet another disaster. I can announce today that we'll provide further financial support to residents who have been most impacted by the flood, the residents who are not yet back in their homes. If your home is still uninhabitable, we will credit your rate account $1,000 to help relieve the financial pressure during this extremely difficult time. Mr. Chair, since the start of 2020, we have faced unprecedented times and unprecedented challenges. And our efforts to relieve the burden on those impacted by the floods came after we helped steer Brisbane through an extraordinary time of global pandemic. When you travel around Brisbane, it's pretty clear that it's going to take a considerable amount of time to fully recover. We invested more than $50 million into direct relief for residents, businesses and community clubs during the pandemic, and we will continue to provide relief when required. From the beginning of the pandemic, our efforts have included a rate freeze, the first in more than 30 years, fee waivers for thousands of businesses and grants for community clubs and sporting clubs. Even at the beginning of this year, as the wave of Omicron cases forced our city into a pseudo lockdown, we came to the aid of businesses and clubs by waiving fees for the first quarter of 2022. The financial hit to Council's budget from COVID-19 is now almost $220 million. Last month, I again visited the site of what was once the Kedron Brook Bikeway. The remnants are a vivid reminder of the ferocity of the event that our city just experienced. To ensure residents were informed, I announced that the city's damage bill from the 2022 flood would be $660 million, with almost $330 million funded directly from the council budget. To put that in perspective, this is 3 times more than the cost of the 2011 flood to council. Now, some people are shocked when I say this. How can this be right when what occurred a decade ago was a higher flood? But this time, the combination of creek, overland flow and river flooding meant much more council infrastructure and assets were impacted. The damage includes 189 buildings on community lease facilities, 106 sports fields, 74 car parks, 285 kilometres of roads, 3 bikeways, 4,282 street, park and bikeway lights, 863 parks, 300 playgrounds, 400 public barbecues, 25 park toilet blocks and 4 public pools. What's required is a huge reconstruction effort, Brisbane's biggest ever rebuild, and the situation we face demonstrates why experience matters. A business as usual approach is simply not an option. The scale of the task at hand would have meant that we'd be lucky to finish rebuilding by the Brisbane 2032 Games. Now, in the end, the choices were obvious. Pause and cancel some projects so that we could prioritise the rebuilding and recovery. As we announced last month, 2 West End Green Bridges, the Mowbray Park Vision and additional village precinct projects will be paused. We've also stopped the inaugural precinct plan as well as stage 5 of the North Brisbane Bikeway and scaled back the number of wooden ferries to be restored from 3 to 1. Now, I've heard some criticism of that, but the alternatives involve leaving Brisbane's community infrastructure broken for longer, or passing on more costs to ratepayers, or racking up unsustainable levels of debt. I'm not prepared to do those things. We'll use this budget to rebuild and recover, because that's what residents want us to do. Under our plan, we'll rebuild and refurbish flood-damaged sports and community clubs. These facilities are part of the fabric of our suburbs. They help weave communities together through sport and other activities, so we must do what we can to help them recover. These damaged grounds are already fields of dreams for young sports players, and yet now with the prospect of competing at home in the Brisbane 2032 Games, we need to ensure our clubs rebuild and rebuild stronger. Over the next 4 years, we'll spend $365 million resurfacing our roads, including almost $28 million for those that were damaged during the floods. Now, while there's been an outlandish suggestion that we should simply start abandoning those roads or closing those roads, we're going to fix them instead. We're going to prioritise repairs because we know how crucial they are to making sure...
Point of order, Councillor Johnston.
Yes, Mr Chairman. I just think there might be a problem with my budget book. There are no numbers in it. Is there some reason that the budget we're being asked to approve, which is the annual plan 2022-2023, does not have any numbers in it with respect to the budget?
Councillor Johnston.
It's an important procedural issue, Mr Chairman, that I'd like clarified, because we have to approve the budget, but there are no figures in the budget.
Councillor Johnson, I've just received the budget book as well. I understand that the figures to which you received are included in the budget book as related information. Thank you. Lord Mayor.
We will invest almost $60 million on repairing Brisbane's flood-damaged bikeways and bikeway bridges. We're doing this because we know how important it is to invest in active transport. And in fact, no council team has ever invested more in active transport than the team I lead. And that's why we're not only rebuilding bikeways like Kedron Brook, we're also forging ahead with the Kangaroo Point and Breakfast Creek Green Bridges, just like we promised we would do this term. We will invest $27.6 million in restoring our ferry network. The Brisbane River, Brisbane is a river city, and I know how much our ferries are missed when they are out of action. I want to thank the dedicated team who have already been able to get 13 of our terminals up and running again. We still have some work to do over the coming months to get the terminals up, but this is a far cry from 2011 when 7 terminals were washed away and it took years to rebuild them. We'll also invest $131 million on improving flood resilience and drainage, rebuilding damaged drainage, retaining walls, as well as restoring creeks. This is a record spend and nearly double the normal budget. It also comes despite the fear-mongering and false claims that we've heard peddled by some councillors in recent months. We'll also spend another $53.4 million restoring our flood-damaged parks and playgrounds. As we all know, Brisbane is renowned for being a clean and green city, as well as having a healthy outdoor lifestyle. Our network of more than 2,100 incredible parks is the reason why. As many parents will attest, our playgrounds offer some of the best free fun for children that's available, and I'm going to ensure that they are restored as quickly as possible. Mr. Chair, Brisbane is a national leader when it comes to flood buybacks and resilient home programs. For a decade, we operated a buyback scheme that purchased 114 of the city's most flood-prone properties at a cost of almost $60 million. And we did this without any help from any other level of government. Later, this scheme evolved into our Flood Resilient Homes program, which undertakes assessments and helps deliver real improvements like raised power points and water-resistant building materials. After the floodwaters receded, I saw firsthand the difference that this program can make and has made. Councillor Maddock and I visited the Paddington home of Kevin Rusty Adams. Rusty told me how he was able to mop up and move back into his apartment just days after the flood. And that's because he made the decision to participate in our Flood Resilient Homes program. Some of his neighbours were not so lucky. This prompted me to lobby both the federal and state governments to seek their support for a new Resilient Homes program. And while Council has done the heavy lifting on this issue until now, what we do need is a scheme that's funded by all levels of government. And I'm pleased to say that's now what we have. While the federal and state governments have agreed to this request, we're now focused on making sure that Brisbane receives its fair share of that funding. And while this occurs, we'll continue our ongoing investment in the area and we'll tailor it once more once we know about the federal and state programs. Mr. Chair, we remain firmly and unapologetically focused on Brisbane's suburbs. From Brighton to Burbank, Moreton Island to Lake Manchester, Brisbane is a local government like no other. Now rapidly approaching 1.3 million people, we have twice the population of every other Australian capital city put together. We serve the same number of people as the state of Tasmania, the Australian Capital Territory and the Northern Territory combined. Now, our CBD is a vital part of Brisbane's economy and it supports jobs in retail, hospitality, finance, technology and tourism. However, we must always ensure that the suburbs are great places to relax and live. And that's why we continue to invest in the parks, roads, paths, bikeways and community facilities that our suburbs need. And that's why we've introduced a new measure in this budget, the Suburbs First Guarantee, that will see at least 80% of every dollar spent in the council budget going out to our suburbs. We guarantee it. And for this year, for example, we're spending $25 million on intersection improvements, of which only $500,000 or less is in the CBD. And throughout Brisbane's suburbs, we're continuing to invest in road and transport projects, big and small. They help our city get moving, ensuring people can get home sooner and safer. And over the next 2 years, we'll invest more than $130 million on completing the Moggill Road corridor upgrade, and something which will significantly improve traffic conditions and safety for our Western Suburbs residents. There's also the $60.6 million Beams Road Castledine upgrade and the brand new $46.1 million Gardner Road extension in Rochdale. This will be completed over the coming years. A number of major projects that are already underway will be completed this year, and that includes Hoyland Street and Norris Road and the Newnham and Wecker Road intersection upgrade, which will make it much safer for residents to access local schools, the busy Bunnings warehouse and many other local businesses. These are just a few examples of our ongoing investment in our 5,781 kilometre road network. A network which includes more than enough bitumen to build a highway from Brisbane to Adelaide and back. Mr Chair, Brisbane also has 5,000 kilometres of footpaths, and we're investing record amounts into looking after this important infrastructure. Whenever a footpath issue is reported, we expect it to be inspected by our officers within 24 hours and in just 2 hours if the matter is urgent or dangerous. In the current financial year, we completed more than 1,400 repair jobs on our footpath network.
Councillor Johnston, please.
And we undertook 88 major pathway reconstruction projects as well. And all of this happened despite months of bad weather. And while we're prioritising our flood rebuilding and recovery, today I can reveal that we will also invest a record $35 million on building new and improved footpaths right across Brisbane. And that's more than ever before, and almost $5 million more than the current financial year. And this includes $1.6 million under our Safer Paths to School program, which is a very important initiative that helps make the trips to the classroom smoother and safer for our children, whether they're riding, walking, or riding a bike or scooter. State schools with major funding improvements will include Enoggera, Geebung, Seven Hills and Middle Park. And Mr Chair, Brisbane is increasingly recognised as Australia's cleanest and greenest city. Brisbane City Council is the largest carbon neutral organisation that is a government organisation. And this is something I'm immensely proud of. Other levels of government talk endlessly about climate change. We just got on, roll the sleeves up and take action. And we invest heavily in our natural assets, like almost $30 million in saving bushland or almost $15 million in tackling invasive weeds over the next 4 years. Our side of politics established the Bushland Acquisition Program, and that was against strong opposition from Labor. And we have an unmatched record of delivering real and tangible environmental results. And we do these things simply for one reason, because it's the right thing to do. One reason that we're getting our clean and green credentials a fair bit of attention of late is that when you fly into Brisbane, it's clear that we have so much tree cover and green space compared to so many other cities. And that was particularly notable when I flew into Tokyo. They have some incredible manicured gardens, but it is a sea of concrete. You fly into Brisbane, it is a sea of green. And just weeks ago, senior visitors from the International Olympic Committee were genuinely blown away with the richness of our natural environment here in Brisbane as well as the surrounding region. And an important part of this incredible environmental network is our 2,100 parks. From our iconic parks like the City Botanic Gardens, Victoria Park and New Farm Park, through to some of those smaller suburban playgrounds and parks that only residents know exist. These are the lungs of our city and we will continue to invest in them and look after them. We work hard to make them attractive places to go, whether it's taking kids to the local playground, letting your dog off the leash for a while, working out at an outdoor fitness gym, or our parks budget this year includes more than $15 million in delivering new parks. It includes $6.4 million for upgrading neighbourhood parks. It includes $1.3 million for a dozen upgraded dog off-leash areas, and it includes $14.6 million for upgrading playgrounds, lighting and facilities. We'll also continue to invest in upgrading existing parks in our suburbs, including McEwen Park in Inala and Spencer Park at Newmarket, along with our much-loved foreshore areas in Wynnum and Manly. Mr Chair, Brisbane's sunny climate makes us the envy of southern states, particularly at this time of year. But we also have the unfortunate title as the nation's skin cancer capital. Now, during the peak of summer, there are genuinely few daylight hours when it's possible to take children to an unshaded playground. A brand new measure in this budget that's particularly important is an exciting program to make sure that every park playground in Brisbane, every single one of them, has shade. This program will cost $10 million over the coming years. Some parks will get shade sails, others will get trees, others will get a combination of both. My commitment today is that we'll deliver a fast-track program to ensure every single council playground in Brisbane has shade. In a normal year, we add shade up to around 10 playgrounds a year across Brisbane. Our new SunSafe program will boost this number to 50 playgrounds in the very first year. I know Brisbane residents, parents, grandparents and carers will appreciate this initiative. Now, Mr Chair, despite our massive rebuilding and recovery effort in sports and community clubs, we'll also continue to invest in those facilities that weren't affected by the floods. We'll continue to invest $3 million a year in the Lord Mayor's Better Suburbs grants, which help clubs improve their facilities. That includes grants like the $200,000 that Algester Sports Club received last year to upgrade their kitchen, and the $150,000 that Bulimba Community Club received to improve their toilet facilities. We'll also spend $1.6 million a year on the hugely popular Community and Sports Partnership Program. Through this program, we partner with clubs, sports codes and other levels of government to deliver significant upgrades. Just last month, I was with the Western Districts Netball Association Club President, Paula Sale, to announce that the club would receive $167,000 towards new lighting and resurfacing of the netball courts. Other recipients included the Valley Hockey Club, Sandgate Hawks Football Club and Carrington Boating Club. I look forward to working with other clubs across Brisbane to ensure similar improvements are made. Mr Chair, our investment in the suburbs isn't all happening outdoors. Our program of works to give Brisbane residents access to first-class library facilities is gaining momentum. After completing the refurbishment of the Inala Library last year, we're getting cracking on our commitment to deliver a brand new Everton Park Library. This almost $12 million project includes a much bigger space as well as a brand new entry point into the adjoining upgraded Fallon Park. Zillmere Library will also receive a $1.5 million upgrade. And today I can reveal for the first time we're looking at relocating the Indooroopilly Library to surplus land from the Moggle Road corridor upgrade. Mr Chair, while I'm talking about our massive investment in Brisbane suburbs, it would be remiss of me not to mention curbside collection. It was paused during the pandemic, but last year we managed to bring it back a year ahead of schedule. We promised it would be back, we delivered, and this year I can confirm it's back again. Of course, we had no idea that on top of our regular citywide collection, we'd also have to perform a special flood curbside collection edition across as many as 177 suburbs across Brisbane. I can confirm today that the collection will be returning. It's back, it's here to stay, and the pickup schedule has now been published on the Brisbane City Council website. So please mark the dates in your calendar and get ready to clean out the house. Mr Chair, Brisbane Powerhouse is one of our greatest cultural assets, attracting visitors from across Brisbane and tourists from across the world. For many, no visit to our city is complete without a trip to the Powerhouse. I believe we need to continue investing in this great space so that it continues to evolve and prosper. Today I can reveal that our council has committed $1 million to help the Brisbane Powerhouse deliver an exciting range of new outdoor activities. While I don't want to give away all the details today, I can confirm that this project will include an exciting new night market, one with an Asian street market theme, as well as an outdoor event space and an exciting experience that will deliver an exciting experience like nothing else in Brisbane. This comes on top of our investment of almost $5 million a year in festivals and events right across the suburbs of Brisbane. whether it's big festivals like the Brisbane Festival and Panegyri, or the smaller ones like International Tartan Day or the Iranian Film Festival. We support festivals in every corner of Brisbane, and we support these events because they bring the community together and they also support local business. I also want to mention another exciting new arts initiative. Now, Brisbane has long had a reputation for being tough on illegal graffiti, and that's not about to change. We are a clean city by global standards, I think surpassed only by the likes of Singapore in terms of our cleanliness. But we are also a creative city, a vibrant city, and a city that supports a thriving arts culture. The Brisbane Street Art Festival continues to demonstrate that there's incredible talent in our city, and there's space for fantastic street art and murals right across the city. I believe there's a way that we can better foster this talent, while also helping to reduce the amount of ugly tags and graffiti. So, for now, for the first time, we're going to start a new initiative which identifies public places that can be used as a canvas for legal street art. Legal graffiti walls is what I'm talking about. Now, I know this kind of art won't be everyone's cup of tea, but I believe that in a modern, vibrant and thriving city like Brisbane, we can accommodate legal street art and legal graffiti walls. Mr. Chair, the issue of housing affordability is being talked about at weekend barbecues right across Australia. The recent rise in official interest rates has slowed the extraordinary price growth in other capital cities, but in Brisbane, the market continues to rise and increase. Our city's fantastic lifestyle and diverse economy have placed us at the top of the tree when it comes to domestic population growth. As a city, we are victims of our own success. On the issue of affordability, it's almost a perfect storm right now. As the State Treasurer just said recently, there is no simple answer to the challenge of housing affordability in Queensland, and there are multiple levers that must be pulled. The reality is that local governments don't control many of the levers that impact on housing affordability. The Treasurer went on to say that every level of government must do their part, and he specifically pointed out that councils have a role to play in the release of land and in planning approvals. Now, while the release of land is in a large part controlled by the state government's own South East Queensland Regional Plan, here in Brisbane we have the perverse situation where Labor, Green and Independent councillors continue to actively oppose the construction of new homes in their area. Now, make no mistake...
Point of order. Point of order.
That is outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. The Lord Mayor says this. This is not true.
This isn't...
The Lord Mayor is a liar.
This is not true.
The Lord Mayor is a liar publicly.
We do not oppose. We do not oppose development in our areas. This is untrue.
We do not oppose homes being built in our area. This is a lie, and it should be withdrawn.
Councillor Griffiths, it is not a proper point of order. Take your seat.
I'm asking the Lord Mayor to withdraw that statement. It is misleading and not true.
Councillor Griffiths, please take your seat.
I'm not taking my seat. The Lord Mayor should withdraw this statement. It is misleading and not true and not appropriate for a council budget document. We do not oppose development in our areas.
Councillor Griffiths,
oppose bad
Councillor Griffiths, you're making a speech. This is not the opportunity to make a speech.
I'm asking you to ask the Lord Mayor to remove this from the chat.
Councillor Griffiths, do not talk over me. There is ample opportunity for you to participate in budget debate next week, and also during budget information sessions where you can make your points. I urge you to do so. Otherwise, please sit down and allow the Lord Mayor to finish his speech.
I'm making a point of order now.
Councillor Johnston, please do not shout out across the chamber.
This is not true. This is incorrect. This is a not true statement. It needs to be withdrawn by the Lord Mayor. This is a we're in a democracy.
Councillor Griffiths,
we are in a democracy.
You're talking over me again.
I'm asking you to withdraw, the Lord Mayor to withdraw this statement. It is not true.
Councillor Griffiths, please take your seat.
I'm asking
you... asked for a point of order. My point of order is that you are able to participate in the debate next week, And if you continue to display this unsuitable meeting conduct,
It's the Lord Mayor that is engaging in unsuitable meeting conduct by lying about other councillors.
This is not true. What is the Lord Mayor able to say? Lies.
Councillors, please, you are disrupting.
The Lord Mayor is lying, and you need to address Councillor
Councillors,
Griffith's
you are
point of
disrupting
order.
the meeting. Please take your seats, otherwise I will move to the more formal requirements.
Well, I just find this offensive that the Lord Mayor puts lies in his speech and expects all of us to sit here and take it, and that you agree with it, Mr Chairman.
Councillor Griffiths, as you fail to comply with the request to take remedial action for your unsuitable meeting conduct, I hereby warn you in accordance with section 21(6) of the Meetings Local Law that failing to comply with this request may result in an order being issued.
Point of order.
Councillor Johnston.
I move dissent in your ruling.
Dissent has been ruled. Has been moved in by ruling. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. No. The noes have it.
Division.
Absolute division.
The division has been called. Please ring the bells. Councillor Griffiths.
Oppose the construction of new homes in our area. It's a big, fat lie. Not only is it a lie, it's defamatory, it is too much, and you can be sure that we're going to take action.
Mr Chair, the noes have it, the voting being 7 in favour, 19 against.
Thank you. Councillors, please resume your seats quickly. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Well, that's an interesting turn of events because within the last 24 hours, the Labor and opposition councillors have suddenly become pro-development overnight. So what we saw last night was a neighbourhood plan came through this chamber. Did they support it? No. They abstained. And we know time after time,
Point of order.
week after week.
Councillor Johnston.
I did not abstain. I did not abstain last night. That's another lie from the Lord
Councillor
Mayor.
Johnston. Thank you. Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Labor councillors abstained from the debate, from the vote on the neighbourhood plan yesterday. Just yesterday, 24 hours ago, the 8 Mile Plains neighbourhood plan came through this chamber and they didn't support it. They abstained. Now, I would have respected them more if they actually voted against it.
Yeah, that's right.
They're sitting on the fence, and you know what happens to people that sit on the fence, Mr Chair. But this type of behaviour, this type of approach is not helping affordability when it comes to housing. Now, the current housing crisis means it's not only increasingly unaffordable to buy a home, it's increasingly difficult to find a home to rent as well. And so it's disingenuous and wrong to say that you care about housing affordability if you oppose virtually every new application that comes through in your area. It is disingenuous and wrong.
Johnston.
Point of order, Chair.
Councillor 3, you have a point of order.
Yeah, I do think the Mayor's stretching the truth a bit when he says that Labor and Greens councillors oppose virtually every new application to build new homes.
Thank you. To your point of order, there is ample opportunity to participate in debate in next week and through the budget
I'm making a valid point
where you're
of
able
order.
to make all the points that you wish to make. Please allow the Lord Mayor to continue to deliver his speech.
My point of order is that I find the remarks objectionable and I would request that the Mayor consider withdrawing them.
Lord Mayor, are there any changes you wish to make to your statements?
All I'm saying is the truth, Mr Chair, And I don't think the people of Brisbane would recognise the statement that's just been made by Councillor Sri as being correct. I think the people of Brisbane would see him and his Green colleagues as being anti-development and anti-construction of new homes. Everyone knows it, so don't deny it. And Labor are no better. Having no position.
Point of order, this is just
no
getting
better.
beyond a joke.
Councillor
Griffiths, in this chamber said that I don't oppose development. This is just a lie. This man is lying. It is not true.
Councillor Griffiths, you continue to fail to comply with the request to take remedial action.
You are appalling and you're lying. Your LNP administration is appalling.
Councillor Griffiths, I hereby make an order reprimanding you for your conduct. Your conduct and this reprimand will be noted in the minutes of this meeting. Lord Mayor.
This is called chickens coming home to roost, Mr Chair. After years and years and years of opposing development and neighbourhood plans right across the city, they have been called out. The spotlight is now on them because the people of Brisbane are suffering as a result of housing affordability issues. This needs a solution, and today we're coming forward with two important solutions. Now, renters are an important part of our community, and we need to look after them. Renters should not be left out in the cold while the property market continues to skyrocket. And so today I've announced two new initiatives that take control of the levers that we have. The first initiative, Suburban Renewal Precincts, is aimed at meeting the demand for new homes sooner and without major changes to existing low-density residential areas. It's about identifying new areas that can be unlocked to create vibrant and new residential and mixed-use communities. And as part of this initiative, we'll look at expanding the residential footprint of Brisbane into areas that may have previously had a commercial or light industry use. And this approach has previously been used in inner-city industrial areas such as South Brisbane, Woolloongabba, Newstead and Tenerife. And it has transformed those areas into some of the most sought-after places to live in Brisbane. And now we're going to take this proven model...
Johnston.
Now we're going to take this proven model to other parts of Brisbane. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the housing crisis is not just about a lack of affordable houses to buy, it's also about residents, including key workers, facing a serious lack of affordable housing to rent. One area where there's a pressing need for intervention is in the issue of short-term rentals. With the rental vacancy rate now at less than 1%, and in fact it was 0.6% last month, it's incredibly hard for tenants to find affordable places to live and rent with 6 or 12 months leases. Short-term rentals may be convenient for tourists and visitors to Brisbane, but they throw up a minefield of issues. The short-term rental trend, which is facilitated by well-known booking apps, removes homes from the long-term rental market. Let me say that again, it removes homes from the long-term rental market. And this contributes to supply shortages and increasing housing costs. It creates an uneven playing field and jeopardises investment in purpose-built short-term accommodation like hotels. And this is not a good scenario for a city that's a decade away from hosting the world's biggest sporting event. The short-term accommodation boom also increases compliance costs for council, with homeowners across Brisbane suddenly living next door to homes and apartments that have become mini hotels almost overnight. So today I can announce that owners who lease their property on the short-term market will now be required to pay their fair share. We'll be introducing a new rating category for transitory accommodation. This will see owners pay 50% higher rates than equivalent non-owner occupied residential properties. Now for a property on the minimum rating level, this works out to almost $660 a year extra. Now this is an amount that is more consistent with commercial rates because it is a commercial use that they are using their home for. Properties that have a single room to rent will be excluded. However, properties that are listed for short-term rental for more than 60 days a year will be required to pay the higher amount of rates. And this will be progressively rolled out across Brisbane. We'll be encouraging owners to self-identify from July 1, but we'll also be encouraging members of the public to let us know if a property is being used for short-term rental purposes. And we'll be using online resources to identify properties being used for this purpose. Now, I know some owners may not like this approach. However, residential streets were not meant to be home to pseudo-hotels with different tenants coming every day or every weekend in and out of the property. It's my hope that instead of paying extra, many of these owners of short-term rentals will now put their homes back into the longer-term rental market and help reduce those affordability pressures on renters. I can also confirm today that the 3-year Pathways Out of Homelessness funding that I introduced shortly after becoming Lord Mayor will now become a permanent, ongoing program. Several of these programs, such as the one run by the wonderful team at Micah Projects, have significantly exceeded all expectations. And while the federal and state governments are primarily responsible for addressing homelessness, our strategic investment in this area is getting great results, and we will continue it. Mr Chair, when I delivered last year's budget, we were still weeks away from finding out whether Brisbane would host the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. And I spoke of the need for continued investment in city-shaping infrastructure like Brisbane Metro and the new bridges. These projects will become some of our most important asset when we open for the world's biggest sporting event. Now, fast forward 12 months and look at how far we've come. Our date with Destiny was confirmed in Tokyo on the 21st of July when IOC President Thomas Bach held up a sign saying, Brisbane. Since then, the state government has decided to co-invest in the new Brisbane Metro station at the Gabba, together with the federal government, and the federal government has agreed to co-invest in the Kangaroo Point Green Bridge. And both of these critical pieces of infrastructure are part of the newly signed city deal, which was negotiated between the mayors of South East Queensland and the state and federal governments. Today's budget confirms our end of the bargain. It demonstrates what can be achieved when governments work together despite political differences. Since Brisbane was locked in as a host city, our council has played a role in ensuring that the Visi site at South Brisbane has been secured and protected for the future. This will be the temporary international broadcast centre during the Games, but after, it will be transformed into South Bank 2.0. Now, while 10 years might seem a long time away, the work we do now will help Brisbane 2032 be a success, both on and off the field. So I can confirm today that our council will be investing $16.1 million to help turn Olympic dreams into a reality. Our investment, together with state and federal funding, will help create a world-class cycling track at the Murray Recreation Reserve. I hope it will become a breeding ground for the next generation of Olympic and Paralympic cycling talent. Along with the international standard track, the project will also include a new 500-metre speed skating track and a multi-purpose clubhouse as well. It's top quality venues like this that will attract our young talent to these sports and help turn them into local champions that we can cheer on in 2032. I can also confirm today that Brisbane will establish its own legacy committee to ensure that the incredible opportunities presented by the Games are not lost. We want our legacy committee to investigate how we can leverage the game to deliver lasting benefits for residents and local businesses alike. Think of what Expo 88 did for Brisbane. We want our legacy committee to think even bigger than that. Mr Chair, as we enter the period of rebuilding and recovery, it's important that we also recognise the challenges ahead and also the impact of global uncertainty and what it's having locally. War in Eastern Europe has driven up fuel and wholesale energy prices to record levels. A year ago, we would have all scoffed at the idea of paying $2 per litre for fuel. Global supply chains continue to be disrupted, causing rapid price growth in many products and making it near impossible to source other products. All too often, we're hearing reports about big-name builders going under. Inflation is now common in the global economy and across Australia. In Britain, the figure is now a staggering 9%. In New Zealand, it's 7%, and in the US, it's over 8%. Australia's latest inflation figure is 5.1%, the highest since March 1991. But the new Federal Treasurer has predicted that it will rise even further as this year progresses. In Brisbane, inflation sits at 6%, with rampant demand for housing a significant cost driver. And given our exposure to global economic forces, The lingering financial impact of the pandemic, and now the most costly flood in memory, means that upward pressure on rates is significant. But because of the decisions that we've made in this budget, and because of many years of responsible financial management, the increase in rates will be nothing like the multiple increases of 6% or more under Labor Lord Mayors. Labor's record high rate increases were delivered at times when there were no pandemics and no floods and lower inflation. In fact, today's rate rise will cost the average household just $1.63 per week. So despite being hit with Council's biggest ever flood bill, and despite continuing to invest record amounts in our suburbs and rebuilding and in infrastructure, and despite our continued flood recovery, Brisbane will still have the cheapest residential rates in South East Queensland. Yeah. Just yesterday, Australia's second largest council, the second biggest one after Brisbane, announced a $160 rate increase on their average rate bill. Now that is almost double the Brisbane rate increase. They didn't have a flood to pay for, and they didn't have a rebuild to pay for, and so it's pretty clear here in Brisbane, residents pay less and they get more. Here in Brisbane, compared to other councils,
they're paying more and getting less.
Please.
Point of order, they're paying more and getting
Griffiths,
less.
that is not a point of order. That is not a point of order. Please resume your seat, Lord Mayor.
Let me say that again. Here in Brisbane, compared to other councils, Brisbane residents pay less and they get more. They pay less and they get more. And that will continue while we continue to manage the budget responsibly. Now, Mr Chair, like every budget, this is a culmination of a lot of hard work by many, many people. All of them are dedicated to making sure Brisbane gets even better. I want to thank the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Krista Adams, and the Finance Chair, Councillor Fiona Cunningham, for their assistance, along with every single member of Civic Cabinet. I also want to acknowledge the dedication and support of Chief Executive Officer Colin Jensen, Divisional Manager Anne Lentz, Chief Financial Officer Paul Oberley, Mark Russell, Emma McCarthy, Tanya Nish, and the entire budget team, who do a fantastic job. From my office, I'd like to thank my Chief of Staff, Chris, Deputy Chief of Staff, Jeff, and Senior Advisors, Stephen and Michael. Mr Chair, in 2020, Brisbane voters resoundingly rejected the lowbrow and negative campaign of those opposite. They opted with a team for the experience to run Australia's largest council and the experience to see that council through a crisis. Now, unfortunately, the crisis of the pandemic morphed into one of our worst and most devastating floods. But can you imagine how a Labor or Green-dominated council would have responded to those challenges? We all know it would have been shambolic, Mr Chair. It would have been shambolic. In contrast, this budget demonstrates yet again that experience matters. The team that I am honoured to lead has the experience to prioritise Brisbane's rebuild and recovery. It's a team with the courage and the strength of convictions. It's a team with the courage and strength of conviction to make the decisions that need to be made. It's the decisions that need to be made to keep Brisbane's finances strong and balanced. We have the experience to deliver yet another balanced budget, a responsible budget, and a budget that avoids bad debt. We have the experience to ensure Brisbane bounces back, and we have the experience, Mr Chair, to ensure the Brisbane of tomorrow is even better than the Brisbane of today. I commend the budget to the chamber. Mr Chair, I move this meeting of Council be adjourned until 9 a.m. on Friday, 17th of June 2022.
Seconded.
Thank you. It has been moved by the Lord Mayor and seconded by the Deputy Mayor that the meeting of Council be adjourned until 9 a.m. on Friday, 17 June 2022. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The meeting now stands adjourned until Friday. May I remind all councillors to sign the attendance book, please, at the front desk.